Hello everyone, hope all of you are doing good. So let's move on with day 7, equality, the concept of equality. Yes, nowadays the concept of equality has been asked in a more comprehensive as well as a more complex manner, okay. Specifically, the question that has come in 2022, students do face a lot of challenges in this regard, okay. So the idea is, if you have understood the evolution of the concept, okay, and if you are very thorough with every school of thought, then applying them would not be a very big problem, okay. So let's move, let's see what all has to be done in this regard. So yes, the concept of equality, how concept of equality versus inequality, then how it remains a contested concept, how it is a modern and progressive idea. So you distinguish it with the Aristotle's idea of equality, then dimensions of equality, okay, theories of equality from formal, procedural to substantive grounds, equality of opportunity, then welfare, resources, capabilities that we are talking, complex equality, all right, democratic equality by Rawls, and yes, debate between equality and liberty, and the past year's question, okay. Affirmative action, I will link it with IGP and take up the Indian context and discuss in detail, all right. So let's move to the first question. The question is reading, equality is fair treatment rather than equal treatment. Discuss the role of equality in contemporary societies. So what is equality? They are saying equality is fair treatment rather than equal treatment. Equality is fair treatment rather than equal treatment. Equal treatment, and discuss the role of equality in contemporary societies, okay. Is it clear? So now what is it that we begin this question with? So we begin the very idea of equality. We talk of the idea of equality, which means, okay, that the idea of equality is relative. It is the context specific idea, and anyone who is talking of absolute equality is not serious. So relativity is a key concept of equality itself, that it is a relative idea. It can never be applied in the absolute sense. So first explain this concept. So like all concepts, it is also contested idea. Like all concept, it is also contested idea. Now when we say, so equality can never be equal treatment, it is always fair treatment, and we will see how this fair treatment can be established. So first begin and criticize the idea of Aristotle, and the idea of Aristotle is problematic, which is not applicable in modern societies, okay. So addressing this concept, okay, then we say that it was the liberals who spoke of equality. First we talk of the procedural or formal equality. Procedural or formal equality. And what is this procedural and formal equality? Which means it is equality before law. Legal dimension. Legal dimension. Okay? So everybody will be treated by the rule of law. Everybody will be guided by the procedure that has been established by the law. Everybody will be treated equally before the law, and there will not be any kind of special privilege that will be given before the law to any individual. Okay? This is the concept of procedural or formal equality. So very idea that equality cannot be what? Only equal treatment. This is not sufficient. We have to move towards more fairness. So after the concept of procedural and fair formal equality came the idea of equality of opportunity. Now, is there actually any difference between them, or is it the same? So liberals say that no, we should have at promoting some sort of talent. We should be promoting people who have merit, and everybody should be given this initial thrust where if they possess this, then they will be able to, address all the opportunities that are available. So we have to create opportunities, not only that we will be talking of equality in terms of law. So this equality of opportunity came under criticism. Okay, it came under criticism, and it was said that Marxists said this is also procedural equality only. It is actually not the equality that we are seeking, or how it should be done in a society. Then came in the contemporary idea, the debates came. Then what should we do? Okay, so we say equality of what? Let's describe this. And this equality of what actually was moving towards more fair treatment. But in this also there is variation. Because until now, with these ideas, formal equality and equality of opportunity that we are saying, the more idea is more procedural, more formal. Now here, let's see. Okay. So the first context in equality of what? So there were three ideas that came. We will be discussing them and the other aspects. First idea is equality of welfare. Second idea is equality of resources. Let's understand each. And third is equality of capabilities. Now, what is the ground in each of them? So when we say welfare, it is this utilitarian idea. And welfare is of whom? According to the utilitarian concept of equality. What are we seeking? What kind of welfare are we doing? So according to the utilitarian concept of equality of welfare, it will be seeking welfare of everyone, the greatest happiness of greatest number, which means it is seeking welfare of majority, and here individual as well as minority rights can be compromised. So equality of welfare is not sufficient. We have to ensure that on the basis of every individual's initial stage, we need to create a more level playing field and not only bring in this greatest number argument. Okay, so from welfare, the concept changed. Now, even the concept of welfare has changed from utilitarianism to neo-utilitarianism. So initially, how it has only been talking of greatest happiness of greatest numbers. Okay, now the idea is more deepened with happiness being preference or satisfaction as the basis. So this also changed with time. But initially, when equality of welfare came, it was viewed from the utilitarian perspective with a narrow idea of happiness, which is of greater numbers. Okay? Then we talk of equality of resources. Now, why resources? So Ronald Dworkin is saying that actually it is a virtue in its own. That is, equality is a sovereign virtue. And he says that how Rawls is trying to put difference principle at the last, and those who are the least advantaged sections of society, how he is trying to bring them. We should not do such kind of a thing. We have to bring what? We have to bring this concept at very much initial level, which means we have to bring a level playing field in the terms of resources. Now, after giving equal resources to everybody, who utilizes it on what ways? Then it is on them. Whether it will lead to good or bad, it is their problem. But we have to establish justice in the first stage, at the initial level. Okay? So Ronald Dworkin is constructing a concept in this regard, all right. So he gives this luck, he talks of the concept of auction, he talks of the envy test, right? And he does this and he says that there are certain clamshells that people distribute on an island. So he's also using the hypothetical imagination to do distribution. But he says rather than doing it in the form of difference principle later, we have to do it earlier. Why? Because all people don't have same life. All people don't start from the same social conditions. Somebody can be disabled. They are differently able from birth. Now what will you do? We have to compensate this disability first. Because a person who is absolutely healthy and who is disabled, there is a key difference. How this person will run in the race of life is different than a differently disabled person. So how can we say that we will be giving them after they start running? No, you give them before starting running. You give them 10 minutes extra for the race. That okay, because you are differently able from the initial. Now after giving 10 minutes extra, whether they complete the race or not is not the problem. So at the initial level, for the social circumstances which have not been favorable to every person, to specific sections of society, okay? This is the idea that Ronald Dworkin is talking about. Resource egalitarianism, he says. Resources have to be equal. सबको एक जैसा दे दो. अब इसके बाद एक इंसान उसकी जैसे सबको 5 बुक्स दे दो. अब उस बुक से वो इंजीनियर बनेगा या वो 10th पास मतलब बाद में कुछ कर पाएगा भी कि नहीं. Depends. But resources सबके पास एक होने चाहिए. अब this idea also got questioned. So then we come to the idea of equality of capabilities. And what does equality of capabilities say? So capabilities, so Amartya Sen brings in this idea. He says only distribution of resources is not sufficient. Why? What is the purpose of life? The purpose of life is well-being, a meaningful existence. So what is the meaning that we are giving to these goods and resources? Distribution. So he says it is a function, which means whatever we are getting, what we do out of it. So function, which means to be something or to do something. So I have a book. What will I do with the book? Okay. How will I add meaning to that book? And what will it make me? Will it make me a better teacher, a better aspirant, or something else? So Sen is saying capabilities, not only resource. What people do from this resource matters. What is the outcome that matters? Okay? So you talk of this capabilities. Fine? And then we say even this is not sufficient. So comes in the idea of complex equality of Michael Walzer. So Walzer says that we need different arrangements, we need plurality in distribution. एक जैसा distribution भी नहीं हो सकता. क्यों? क्योंकि he divides it, different sectors have different goods and they have to be distributed differently. जैसे प्राइमरी एजुकेशन तो हमने यूनिवर्सल कर दिया आर्टिकल 2. हैव वी डन दिस फॉर अदर एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ एजुकेशन? हायर एजुकेशन कर पाए हैं? तो व्हाट हैज टू बी डन फॉर अ बेसिक एग्जिस्टेंस ऑफ लाइफ, दैट लेवलिंग कंडीशंस ऑफ सोशल एग्जिस्टेंस इज एक्चुअली व्हाट इक्वालिटी इज सीकिंग, नॉट द बेस्ट. सो ही सेज दैट plurality and there has to be different criterias in different sectors. Even in sectors there can be different. तो education is different from health, तो दोनों का arrangement अलग होगा. अब education पे किस तरीके के benefits देने हैं वो primary education के लिए vary करेंगे higher education से. So कोई भी एक universal arrangement नहीं हो सकता equality या distribution का. It has to be, it's very complex and it varies from one thing to other. All right. So we have established the argument that equality is what? It is not equal treatment, it is fair treatment. And we are moving towards more and more fairness. And that's why even what kind of equality Rawls is bringing? Rawls brings democratic equality in his idea of justice as fairness. He brings the democratic equality. And he says that equality of opportunity always operate as a unit with the difference principle. ठीक है? Now, after doing this, the second part of the question is reading. Discuss the role of equality in contemporary society. तो contemporary society में ऐसा क्या है प्रॉब्लम कि हमें इक्वालिटी चाहिए. सो रोल क्या प्ले करेगी इक्वालिटी. So you say that there are a lot of inequalities existing even today, and the ground for these inequalities are many. There is religion, there is different ideologies. So capitalist system is different from social systems. It is different from democratic systems like in countries like India. So different religions, different ideologies, okay, have already created different grounds of inequalities. And that's why it is equality which will keep the quest for this debate ongoing and ensure social justice. Ensure social justice. Okay? So yes, the quest of human life is, and human progress is moving more and more towards equality, towards deepening of equality. Okay? So this is the first question. I hope all of you have got the differences in the schools of thought also. I'll just recap it for you so that you can remember. Equality is fair treatment rather than equal treatment. Discuss the role of equality in contemporary societies. So we say it is a relative concept. It can be applied only in a concrete context. Then equality is obviously not blanket uniformity, like the question is saying. It is leveling the conditions of social existence, fine, which are very vital for human being. So like all concept, it is a contested idea, fine. Then we talk of Greece, okay, what was the concept in classical utilitarian tradition. Then we talk of how equality of law, equality of opportunity came. Then we say socialists talk of equality of outcomes. So from procedures, we are moving to substantive. Then contemporary political philosophy talks of equality of what? So it is the social liberals like Rawls, Dworkin, Sen, they are talking of level playing field. Dworkin, distribution, how he's doing sovereign virtue, right? Resource egalitarianism. Amartya Sen, he talks of equality of capabilities. Michael Walzer talks of complex equality, okay? So in this way, you should have addressed. And then the role of equality in contemporary society, because still inequality remains a feature. Okay? Fine? Now let's move to the next question. How to theorize this question is a little difficult for students. How does affirmative action promote egalitarianism in society? How does affirmative action promote? Question 2 is saying, how does affirmative action promote egalitarianism in society? How does, okay, so let's move. So first, in this context, it's a theory question. So we say, okay, that Rawls says justice is fairness. Start with this only. He talks of, liberals talk of what? Equality of opportunity, right? Socialists talk of equality of outcomes. Outcomes, right? And Rawls is reconciling both by bringing in difference principle within the equality of opportunity. Okay? So then we bring the context that yes, affirmative action is the difference principle as applied in various societies. So it is done in order to do what? It is a positive discrimination in that way, so that inequalities within societies can be addressed. Okay? Now let's see what are the grounds. So first we bring in the theoretical principles and then we explain affirmative action. Now how it will promote equality, egalitarianism in society. So first, it addresses historical discrimination, whatever injustices have been existing. For example, with the Dalits in India. Okay. The next is create diverse and inclusive environments in educational institution, in workspace, in the institution administrative machineries, okay, of the state. Then it reduces stereotypes and biases, okay, right? So it promotes more diversity, inclusivity of different sets of people, their problems when they come. So they bring something else on the table, they bring their perspective, okay, which is very important in the formulation of policy. So we need this diversity. When we will be solving their problems, we will not be able to do that in a more justified manner. But when they represent their problems, okay, they will be able to do it in a better format. Then social justice, how it promotes social justice. Then we say, despite this, there are a lot of moral and political controversies, right, that are surrounding what? Political and moral controversies that are surrounding the problem of affirmative action, okay. So critics say it leads to reverse discrimination, it leads to, you know, the problem of social cost, right, the debates, there is violence also that happens, right. You can give the Manipur violence example in India, how there is demand for, you know, reservation status. Then negative effect on political systems also, because then this becomes the vote bank politics, all right. Then it leads to group polarization, because non-beneficiaries will give adverse reactions, like we can see in Manipur again, okay. So however, you close with Lyndon Johnson's statement that it is not enough just to open gates of opportunity, but citizens should be able to even walk through them. So when affirmative action promotes egalitarianism in society is asked in paper 1 section A, first you arrive at the difference principle. Then you talk of affirmative action. This is the theoretical basis that had to be laid down. Okay? Thank you so much. All the best for day 7.